Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of the Last Night's Game podcast. We are headed into the summer. It's Memorial Day weekend, the official start of the summer. Here to join me is the boy of summer, my favorite co-host and my brother and co-founder, Scott. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Pretty fired up to be here to talk about Memorial Day weekend and basically every single sport you can imagine I think it's the unofficial kickoff to summer. So it's pretty damn cool.
Well done, sir. Dad jokes for days. Well, Memorial Day weekend kind of carries this what's the word this motto of being like the fastest weekend in sports
hmm
with the Indy 500, the Coca-Cola 600, and the Monaco Grand Prix, which is the F1 race. We have those that we'll dive into, but we also have the Western Conference Finals or the conference finals for the NBA. We
Yes.
have Stanley Cup playoffs. We have WNBA. We have Major League Baseball games going on. So there's a lot to cover, but we're really going to talk. Let's hit home on the big things that are happening this weekend from the world of racing.
Yes.
So one of my favorite races, F1 races, is Monaco. And that happens Memorial Day weekend. Happens on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. And it's a beautiful race, right? Monaco's not a big country. It's all very hilly, and they race through the streets of Monaco, and you get to look at yachts and pretty people and all the things. It's quite a good quite a good viewing experience, if you will.
Picturesque. The ambiance is incredible. Just watching on TV, and you see everyone's packed into this little tiny city as they're racing through little tiny streets. The fastest way to start off the day.
That's true. And it's a city, fun fact about Monaco, it's one of the few city country states
Okay.
in the world. Like Singapore, the Vatican are all city country states where there's no delineation between a city and the country itself and the state. So kind of a fun fact for you.
Wow, you just dropped a fact on us. And isn't it not a tax haven for everyone? That's where all the F1 drivers live, a lot of tennis players, very few taxes.
Yes, it is. It is a tax haven. So there's that. If you're American, it doesn't matter. But for everybody else, yes.
Okay,
Nice
well
little
then,
shelter.
there goes my plan.
There goes your, American, you get double tax no matter where you live. There you go. Other fun fact for you.
There we
We're
go.
like one of two countries in the world that does that. So I'm full of fun global facts for you today of taxes and death and taxes.
Is that how they're affording all these massive yachts that you see in the water right off the track?
Probably.
Most
I mean,
likely.
it's pretty incredible. I've heard that I've not been, it's been on my list to go to, but it's a tough one to get to because obviously
Yes.
Monaco does not have, it's not like Austin where you have the suburbs and not a
hmm
lot of opportunities to find hotels elsewhere and Airbnbs. It's a cool race to watch. Like if you have a chance to watch the race, it's not always the most exciting race because it's really hard to pass
Yes.
on those narrow streets, but it's a really pretty one to watch and a way to start your day with a nice cup of coffee.
And in the season, I think it's one of the races with the least passes or overtakes. So basically, if you win the pole and you get through the first lap, you're pretty much set. And I think there was a lot of maybe even controversy about the race continuing last year because they were in a lot of negotiations to keep it coming back. And I think they signed a deal last year to keep it coming back for at least, I think, 6 years.
Awesome. We have 6 years to go then.
But we do have some bad news. It looks like they're going to move the race from Memorial Day weekend to the first weekend of June next year.
Oh, well, that's no fun.
So it's kind of a party pooper. Maybe they'll change their mind.
Yeah, I guess it is a long day of watching race cars. Like
Yes,
F1 races are over in 2 hours, period.
that's the best part. Yes,
That is the time limit on F1 races. If you don't finish all your laps in 2 hours, too bad. We're done.
it's perfect.
Which is perfect for my lack of attention span.
Everyone's.
That's true. But then you roll into the Indy 500, which isn't quite as long as the NASCAR race, but it is quite a commitment. So the Indy 500 takes place obviously at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, also known as the Brickyard because the track used to be made of bricks. And there's a tradition where the drivers kiss the bricks before the race. And so there's that.
And it's not COVID friendly. That's for certain. Everyone
Yeah.
kissing the bricks because you can go kiss the bricks as a spectator if you have the appropriate tickets to get down there.
Interesting.
So they do allow you to, or they did allow you to prior to certain events that happened a few years ago.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it's also like there's so many things that it's one of the world's largest spectator facilities, like 250,000 permanent seats, average attendance like
Yes.
300,000. You've been to the Indy 500. Is it just that massive?
I have, and I've been on record saying this is like my favorite sporting event. Not even sporting event, it's more of just an event to go to. And I highly recommend it to anyone who's never been, just for the experience. How big the track is, you can't see the entire track. Like if you go to the Speedway here in Las Vegas, you can see the whole track. It's so big that you can only see certain parts. Just the people watching. I think they set the record when we went there for the 100th. It was like 250,000 people or something insane.
That's crazy.
BYOB, you can just walk in with whatever you want, bring your own little party in a cooler, and
So
hang out and sweat
I
in the
can bring
sun.
my I can bring my beer?
You
Well,
can
not that
bring
I can
whatever
bring.
you
I
want.
can bring.
If
Really,
you
no,
want
like,
to,
glass bottles or anything, like, bring it.
I didn't see anyone check anything.
Got
So
it.
if you want to pack, a cooler full of Franzia, you're good to go
I
for a nice
mean,
hot day on the track.
oh, that sounds yeah, speaking of hot day, the fact that these winners, the
Yes.
tradition at Indy 500, um, I'm sure someone probably BYOBs this too, BYO milk, BYOM, but the winners drink milk, and, I mean, it started back in the '30s, and I can't help but just think how gross, 'cause it's, probably close to 100 degrees, it's super humid, and the drivers get to pick their milk choice, whether that's whole 2% or skim milk, and then they pour it over their heads. Like, I just
And
gross.
some get to drink it if they want. What better than being strapped into basically a rocket for multiple hours in 100-degree weather than to cool down with nice milk? It's kind of
I
like
mean,
Ron Burgundy in Anchorman when he's
yeah.
homeless.
Milk was a
He's
bad
drinking milk.
choice.
Milk was a bad choice, but it's a good choice depending on what you pick, because you get
It's
to
true.
celebrate with your option. I think we've maybe petitioned in the past to get some chocolate milk or maybe
Yep.
oat milk now to be trendy as
I
an
would like some
option.
lactose-free milk would be great, maybe some, like, protein-forward milk.
Yeah, the cows. I think the cows can produce lactose free.
I mean, if not, the humans can. I don't think the cows produce the milk you're drinking anyway. Well, they do, but it's exchanges many hands.
Yes, it does. So
It's just a
that's one of the
very
best and grossest
interesting.
traditions. Yeah.
It really is, and when you go to the Indy 500, like,
Hmm.
because you went with my husband and
Yes.
your dad's, you guys brought home, like, they were like the milk bottles were sort of the
Yeah.
thing, right? Everything was in milk, Indy 500 milk bottles.
You drink beer out of them. You drink sodas out of them. You drink whatever you want. Maybe we'll have to fill those up and pour them on our heads after the race this year.
I'll fill mine with water.
Okay, I'll get some milk. I'll do it.
Okay,
I'll
deal.
step up it. I'll be a winner.
You are a winner. So, one thing that's really cool, talk to me about Kyle Larson. This happened last year, so fill the people in on Kyle Larson and what happens at the Indy 500 with him.
So Kyle Larson traditionally is a full-time NASCAR driver. He's one of the best drivers, most skilled drivers. And a lot of these NASCAR drivers outside of the season will drive other random vehicles that go fast. And last year he decided he was going to try to do the doubleheader, which is the Indy 500, finish that, and then fly to North Carolina for the Coca-Cola 600, which does happen to be the longest race of the year. So that's like, I'm not entirely sure, close to like 8 to 10 hours of racing in one day.
Oh, yeah.
It's only been done by a few people. I know one of the Bush brothers did it. But basically, as soon as the Indy 500 ends, they get in a helicopter, go to the airport, fly out, land, get on a helicopter, and go straight to the track. But last year, as you know, you were watching, that did not happen, unfortunately. So this is his second quest at doing it.
Yeah, because the weather
Hmm.
delayed Indy, right?
Yes.
And that pushed everything back, but I do remember watching it because I'm usually raced out by the time the Coca-Cola 600
Yeah.
happens, and it's a really, really that NASCAR race is really long, and so but I remember
Yes.
having it on and just, like, watching for Kyle Larson to get there and see him land in the helicopter and run to the car, and
I mean, it kept everyone kind of tuned into the weather delay, unfortunately, with Indy
that's
to see
true.
if he was actually going to make it. So, I mean, at least it brings some cool publicity. Only 5 drivers have ever done it, complete it.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sure he gets a IV of hydration in the
immediately, yeah.
plane, and I have a question, and you may not know the answer to this.
Yes.
Like, he goes and he gets in a car. Does someone drive the car and, like, start the race? And then
No.
they wait till he So it's just a matter of him racing in the race. It has nothing to do with him
I mean,
finishing.
in theory, there's enough time to get there to start the race if things go according to plan, which, as life happens, nothing goes according to plans.
It's true.
That's why only a few guys have ever done it or even tried it. And just to be even like mentally able to do it is insane.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like I said, if it was a weather delay, like I don't know. I've watched the movie Cars, and this is where I'm getting this from. If
Well,
I'm being quite
most of
honest,
life is based on movie Cars, from
the
what I've
movie
been told.
Cars, where someone
Yes.
started the race, and then like
Yes.
could someone come in and finish it? But apparently,
I
that's
mean,
not a thing.
technically they could. I don't know the exact specifics,
Got
unfortunately.
it.
I don't
Okay.
know if somebody else started the race for him last year.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense. Just curious of opportunities that exist.
Kyle, give us a call. We'll talk.
We'll talk. We'll talk you through strategy because
Yes.
clearly we're really good at this. You know? Yeah. So I've got my list. Tony Stewart, Kurt Busch are two of the John Andretti, a couple people who have done the
The double, which is, that's really just almost like 1,100 miles of racing.
my butt hurts just from thinking about sitting in that seat that
Basically
long.
strapped to a rocket. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's some crazy mental fortitude to get there.
The recovery has got to be insane because you've basically got to recover from one race that normally knocks people out,
Yes.
let alone make it two. And like I said, the Coca-Cola 600 is the longest race on the schedule, 600 miles, a mile and a half track. So they have to do 400 laps.
That's,
And
yeah.
like you're going to bed and going, they're still driving? Oh my
I'm
gosh.
dizzy just thinking about it.
Yeah, but it's cool. Okay, well, that gives us something to look forward to
Yeah.
from Indy, where we have BYOB,
Yes.
and then with its giant infield, which has the EDM concert in the Snake Pit,
The
and
Snake Pit. Shout out to the Snake Pit, which is basically EDM party in the middle of a race. So you can go to the Snake Pit and have no idea there's a race going on. You could also go to the race and not know EDM festival's happening. So
Dare
it's
to
the
Dream.
best of both worlds.
Dare to Dream. So we also this weekend, I want to drop leading back to a previous podcast where we
Yes.
had Angela Gorin on, and she was talking about Power Hour. So if you
Yes.
haven't listened to that podcast, go listen to it. But our friend Angela is trying to break the Guinness Book of World Records of the amount of people that can be active all at the same time. That's on the Saturday. Sorry, the Saturday. And so if you go be active, then you can sit all day and watch the races on Sunday.
Yes.
So tune into the podcast for Power Hour to learn more about that and what you can do on Saturday. And then
And
Sunday,
then
watch these races. And then
sit on the
also,
couch.
yeah, also on Sunday, you can watch the French Open.
Yes.
So there's that too.
So that's French Open. Tips off may not be the correct word, but it starts on Sunday. So you can watch racing, you can watch tennis. It's the second major of the year. It's the only major on clay, which we've previously discussed, going from hard court Australian Open to clay in Paris and then to grass at Wimbledon is quite challenging for most people. So it'll be fun to watch. We have a new network, which I'm sure a lot of people will be upset about. NBC had previously been showing this for years, and now TNT Sports takes over on the first year of a 10-year agreement. So I'm sure this will throw people for a loop. There'll probably be a lot of complaining online, mostly.
Well, I mean, people love to complain, but
Yeah.
it'll be really interesting because TNT also hosts the NBA playoffs.
Yes.
And
One
so
of the
we'll
conference
have
finals.
Yeah, we'll be watching NBA playoffs. We'll be watching Shaq and Charles Barkley, but then flip over to John McEnroe, who one
Yes.
would argue is the Shaq or Charles Barkley
Of
of
tennis. Yes.
tennis.
Definitely.
So there's some serious star power though in the broadcast booth. Like we'll talk about the players on the court,
Yes.
but the broadcast booth we have Andre Agassi, who
Who's basically he's kind of been an enigma for a long time around tennis, and he's kind of coming back into
the fold,
society, I guess, with tennis. So it's cool to have him back.
but he's also become a professional pickleball player.
He has.
So there's that. Which
He's
if
really
you've
getting
ever
back,
played
and he's finding himself.
Yeah, if you ever played pickleball, you're like, wow, tennis didn't really help me at all, actually.
No, it did not. Yeah.
So we've John McEnroe, Lindsay Davenport, Chris Evert, all these names you've heard of. But the guy we're going to be missing
Yes.
is Rafael Nadal. He retired in November, and he has won 14 of his 22 Grand Slam titles at Roland Garros, which is the facility that the French Open takes place at.
The King of Clay, as he's known. So this will be the first official one without him because he's dealt with injuries for years. So he finally made his retirement official. And there's going to be a big celebration for him this year. I think
That's cool.
I think he already has a statue, so he's already an idol there. And playing off that, his fellow Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz is the defending champion on the men's side, carrying that Spanish tradition of winning on clay. And as you know, he's a young phenom, good
Mhm.
looking, great charisma on the court. So he's at least entertaining to watch.
Absolutely. Well, you have him, you have Yannick Sinner,
Hmm.
who is back after a 3-month suspension stemming from a
Yes.
doping violation. Look for his fans who we've talked about it before, the Karate boys who are dressed like carrots
Yes.
in the stand, and that's because he, like, once ate a carrot after a match, and they now dress like carrots. On the
The best
women's
fan
side
section in the world.
what Yep, and on the women's side, we have Iga Swiatek, and so keep an eye out for her, Coco Gauff, the phenomenal women that we're watching this whole new generation of women and men come through, and it's been fun to watch people like Carlos Alcaraz and Iga Swiatek really, like,
Yes.
come into their own.
And a whole new generation of tennis is here. Thank goodness.
Absolutely, so there's plenty to watch. What else am I missing that is happening, well, besides everything this
Besides
weekend?
everything, there's one more little point I want to make about the French Open. With all
Please.
the technology we have in the world these days, they're the only one of the majors that does not use like automatic line calling and technology,
Oh,
which
interesting.
on clay court is very interesting because you have a middle-aged umpire referee getting out of the chair, going down and pointing at a spot in the clay and saying out or in.
Interesting.
It's very, I know it's frustrating for the players because we have this technology available and calls can get missed by somebody who's sitting in a chair pointing at a
Right.
spot.
But also
So
it's Paris in the summer, so it's warm.
it's very warm, yes. No air
So let's
conditioning, as you've told me.
Yes, let's get this party started and over with so we can all move on with our lives.
Yes,
Okay.
basically. And ump cam, so when the ref or whatever they get out of the
Umpire.
chair, they have a camera that they go to ump cam where they look at the spot and you can. It's very, very silly.
It's a GoPro for chair sitters.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Look forward to
Adventure?
that.
No.
No, there will be a freak out on this a bad call for sure.
Well, I mean, we gotta we've gotta stay entertained.
Yes,
You're competing with a lot of other eyeballs on TVs.
absolutely. Yeah.
So tune in early for the nice part is you tune in early for Monaco. You can tune in early for tennis because it's both of them are happening in Europe. So that's your
Yes.
breakfast. Then you go and have milk with the Indy 500 for lunch, and then you have the Coca-Cola cocktail with the Coca-Cola 600 in the end of the evening. And
And
you've earned
mix
it
it.
because you've participated in Power Hour the day before.
Yes, then you mix in some Stanley Cup playoffs, some NBA playoffs, WNBA, and some baseball. It's
And
a
you're
great day to be a couch potato. Yes. Then you rest mentally on Memorial Day Monday.
That's right. Well, thank you for sharing all of your insights into the world of Memorial Day. Happy summer, everybody. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. If you love this podcast and love what we have to offer, hit that subscribe button. Of course, share it with someone you might be spending Memorial Day weekend with. Have a great week.